The world is not random. The world is moving in the direction it is because it's been planned to do that. These entities operate in the unseen, overwhelmingly in the unseen. They want to control the information that people receive. One of the greatest forms of mind control, repetition, repetition, repetition.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 If you want people to have a certain perception of a world event, the world in general, of who we are and the nature of reality, then control what people receive and then control their perception. Once they've got your perceptions, they've got you. Trump is the equivalent of a Hollywood actor on the movie screen. While we are focusing on this minutiae of Trump, anti-Trump, left, right, and all this nonsense that we get caught into, Silicon Valley is becoming the center of global control. This global conspiracy that I've been exposing for 3 decades is basically the hijacking of human perception. Because if there's a few of you, and compared with the target population of 7.5 billion, something like that now, the number of people in full knowledge of what they're doing is tiny.
Hundreds, thousands.
Thousands maximum. At the core, hundreds at the core. At the core of the core, even less. And the rest of the structure is fiercely compartmentalized. So people are daily different parts of this global web structure playing a part in pushing the world in the direction I'm talking about, to this centralized world dictatorship, without realizing that's what they're doing. It's a tiny, tiny number. So given the mathematics, you can't physically control your target population. There's not enough of you. Yes, you can do it through people in uniform, which is manipulating the target population to police the target population, but you can't do it en masse. What you need to do is control the perceptions of the population, because perception is everything. Perception dictates what you believe, what you don't believe, what you'll challenge, what you won't challenge, what you'll accept, you won't accept, support, everything. Once they've got your perceptions, they've got you, and they've got your life, and they've got the collective perception, they have humanity. This is why they want to control the information that people receive and to marginalize alternative ways of looking at the world, because where do perceptions come from? They come from information received. It might be a personal experience, information, or it might be the 10 o'clock news. But with most people, it's going to be the 10 o'clock news, but it's information. So if you want people to have a certain perception of a world event, the world in general, of who we are and the nature of reality, then control what people receive, and then you'll control their perception. So when I look at the world, I see vast numbers of people who are perceptually programmed. And when I break it down in the book, when you look at a human life, it's basically a perceptual programming and download from cradle to grave. You come out of the womb and immediately you're influenced by your parents in terms of your perceptions. And they're not being malevolent, most of the time anyway, the vast majority, but they've been through the system you're about to go through, the process you're about to go through. They've bought it, accepted it as normal, accepted the crazy place to be sane, and therefore out of wanting to do right for you, they'll pass those perceptions on to you. And then, take a deep breath, take a step back, look at it again. When you think about it, Brian, you come out of the womb, and within 4 years, you've only just got here. You're sitting at a desk with an authority figure representing the state's version of everything in front of you, telling you when you have to be there, when you can leave, when you can speak, when you can go to the toilet, when you can eat, what is, what isn't, what's possible, what's not possible, and the nature of everything. And this goes on all the way through your formative years, into higher education, if that's where you go. And it's a download of normal, a perception of normal. What I call it the postage stamp consensus. It's a narrow band of sense of the possible, which is basically being repeated. One of the greatest forms of mind control, repetition, 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 all the way through your formative years. You then go out from there into the institutions. You become a journalist, you become a politician, you become a doctor, you become a scientist, you become a CEO, whatever. And you take with you into those institutions this core version of normal. And when you go as a young person into those institutions are already pillars, solidified concrete pillars of the same sense of normal. So now you've left school, but where you're working is still confirming to you that the madhouse is sane and normal is how things are. A journalist who's doing a story on a medical condition will not go to a complementary practitioner who may have had great success in treating the particular ailment they're writing about. They'll go to a doctor. The doctor will give him the song sheet, postage stamp consensus version of that problem.
And so normal are kind of what we believe about medicine,
everything.
Capitalism, government, all of these things are these normals that we've been programmed.
Because it's basically, Brian, all people here. I call it the mainstream everything. The mainstream media, mainstream science, mainstream medicine, mainstream journalism, it's all unknowing, most of them, the vast majority, agents of the postage stamp consensus. Then you add the fact that the global media, now 24/7, is reporting world events constantly, in all their multiple different ways, from the same postage stamp normal. So, people like me who left the postage stamp a long time ago and it passed over the horizon a long time ago, we're crazy, not by breaking down what we're saying, but by reflex action, because that's not normal, that's not on the postage stamp. Then you look at politics, and we've got a choice between left, right, and center, what's called the political class. That's very, very true, political class, but I would call it something else. It's the postage stamp consensus political class, because the left in politics is on the left of the postage stamp, the centre somewhere in the centre, and the right's on the right of the postage stamp. But they're all on the postage stamp, still coming from this perception of normal that is about, use another analogy, about the size of a pea.
So it's the illusion of choice.
Yeah, exactly. Then you have peer pressure, because all those people who, the vast majority, have accepted this download of normal, with the blinkers on. I have no problem with that. If you want to give your mind away to someone else's perceptual program, fine. The problem comes when those people think that they can then dictate, ridicule, intimidate those that have a different view. Because that's psychological fascism for me. Up to this point, they have manipulated human perception by manipulating the information people receive. The plan is to go beyond that, where they are the perception. And what I'm talking about, of course, is artificial intelligence, which brings us back to the devil's playground, Silicon Valley. Because that is increasingly the center. In the shadows is where it's coming from. But in terms of the world that you can see, Silicon Valley is becoming the center of global control. Not only is it driving, people will be shocked to see how deep Google, it's just a search engine, and Facebook, it's just a social media platform. To see how deep they are in the transhumanist agenda of connecting the human brain to artificial intelligence, so that artificial intelligence becomes the human mind. And that's not me pulling this out of the ether. I'm quoting there a Google executive, Ray Kurzweil, one of the global PR men for Frankenstein.
Is he a Google exec? I know he's at Singularity University.
He's a Google exec at the Singularity University. Okay. And he has said that by 2030, and that's a date, a year that keeps coming up again and again, 2030, the human brain will be started to be connected to artificial intelligence. And I'm quoting Kurzweil here. And then artificial intelligence will do more and more of human thinking until there is no human thought and artificial intelligence is doing it all. Now, why are they openly saying this now? Because the sales pitch is it will make us superhuman. So isn't that great? Getting the population, especially the young, or will be the adults then, addicted to technology is all about the here, kitty, 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 preparing people to accept this. So you've got that agenda at the end of this road of the human mind as we know it being replaced by artificial intelligence. But out of the same, as I was mentioning a few minutes ago, out of the same devil's playground, Silicon Valley, is coming the Google, Facebook, etc., algorithmic censorship more and more of the alternative media using various excuses. Because what they do is this, they'll give you an excuse, oh, we've got to stop jihadis. Okay, right. So, oh yeah, we'll stop jihadis. Okay. And then they widen it and widen it. It's not jihadis anymore, it's people like me. And other people that are questioning the official narrative, and they pull them in. So the alternative media is under tremendous pressure now and suppression because it's challenging the narrative, and that changes perception. Change perception, you change the world.